Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Targeting Care and Advancing Analytics stream. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the two keynote speeches. Just finished, hopefully. It looks like we've got quite a few people here already, so I imagine a few people will be transitioning over from those keynote speeches just as they're finishing up, but it looks like we've got quite a few of you here. So just do a little bit of kind of housekeeping to start off with, really. So please do kind of put in any questions for the speakers in the Q&A section of the panel that's to the kind of right of your screen. You can also upvote other questions, questions from other people as well. If we don't have time to get to those questions, or even if we do, or you just want to chat, there are kind of networking lounge options as part of the conference as well, so please make use of those too. But without further delay, I will hand over to our first speakers, Isabel and James, who are going to talk about the Triple Threat Analyst. So over to you.
Thanks, Sam. So I'm Isabel. I'm a public health intelligence analyst, and I'm also an apprentice on the Level 7 Health and Care Intelligence Specialist apprenticeship. So a couple of mouthfuls there. And I'm here with James.
Hi, everybody. My name's James Harrison. I am a Principal Knowledge Transfer Facilitator, which I'm hoping will become a little bit more obvious as we go through this talk. Hand back to Isabel. Thank you very much.
Lovely. So we are going to have a look at what we think it means to be a triple threat analyst. So when we think of analysts, hopefully we think of analysis, perhaps some of the types of analysis that we see on the screen. A lot of the time we are describing, exploring, explaining, maybe even forecasting or estimating impact and cost. And then we take a step back from analysis and we think, well, what makes up an analytical project? And there's a little bit more to it. So usually we start off with some kind of problem to solve, some kind of question to answer. And we go away and we think, well, where can we find our data that answers that question? Is it good quality? Is it timely? Much more to it. And then we've got this part in the middle, which some of us may think of as the fun part, the analysis itself, and then we're sharing those results, sharing our findings or what we didn't find, and perhaps affecting some kind of decision or some kind of change, but not always. We have some kind of answer anyway. And those are both from Advancing Analytics in the NHS, which is linked in the slide. So what do we mean by a triple threat analyst? These are some of the things that we've picked out. There's a lot more to it. But we'll start off with analysis, and we want to take that a step further. We want to develop and utilize modern analytical techniques, so developing our knowledge, following best practice, and sometimes perhaps moving away from traditional tools like Excel or SPSS to coding methods, perhaps R and Python, that give us a bit more customization and a bit more freedom with our analysis. We've got knowledge to action, or K2A, so moving past just the analytical bit, we want to be involved in conversations throughout. So at the beginning, we as analysts probably know what's possible or what's not, and we can help with setting expectations and scope. And at the end, we want to share what we have done and make people care. You know, what is the point in kind of doing all this hard work if no one looks at it, no one knows about it, and no one even cares about it? We want people to care, we want action. But we'll come back to the K2A cycle later. Very exciting. But that kind of moves us on to the next part, which we've taken as teaching and knowledge transfer. So we want to be opening our mouths, bringing people along through the teaching, create that intelligent customer, and kind of share what we've learned as well. And there is much more than just a triple threat analyst, quadruple, quintuple, however far you can go. You've got things like evaluation, stakeholder engagement, leadership QA. I think the list goes on. There is a Wikipedia page with tuple names if you want to see what kind of analyst you are. So how can we as analysts build upon our analysis, all our hard work, all the numbers, all the fun stuff? And we need to talk to people about analysis. So that could be getting involved in networks. You've got things like community of practice, community of improvements, any other communities that you're aware of. And we want to join those and maintain those good relationships. A lot of the time, this is where our users are. This is where questions are asked, answers are wanted, and perhaps where an analysis is initiated. And we want to kind of share our work. We want to do these presentations. We want to share what we've done, but also share what we're planning to do, get people excited. But we're not just sharing results. We also want to share methodology and best practice, helping to develop others in their teaching. And then throughout, not just at the end, we've got feedback and evaluation. So, what do people want? What can we do better? Is this having the impact that we want it to? And for a lot of us, that feels a bit out of our comfort zone. So we kind of feel like this little one in the corner here, a bit in the deep end. It's a bit uncomfortable for us. So to partially quote Buzz Lightyear, we've got to analysis and beyond, and these are some of the things that I've focused on. So I've been in post about 9 months now, and prior to that I had a bit of a mathematical background, so I've got a degree in maths and stats, and I'm also on the apprenticeship, so that has helped to kind of guide some of my learning and development, but it's not been limited to that. I've got an excellent mentor in my team who's helped me with my coding, so data visualizations and data wrangling. Not to split the room, but I personally prefer R over Python, but that may be because I have a stats background, but that's been really helpful. And the next two, I suppose, are kind of linked. You've got facilitation, so chairing and hosting meetings and presenting work. And when I initially came into the job, the idea of both of those kind of filled me with absolute dread and terror. And it's kind of been a bit of a learning journey, starting off small and kind of growing my confidence. And now I'm presenting at HACA, so hopefully it's done something. And then I love learning, and I didn't think I'd like training and kind of helping people, but I've really enjoyed sharing that and helping to develop others. And then these are some of the things that I'm kind of working on at the moment, or are next steps. So working more on specialist stats. So I've recently gone through the GSG, the Government Statistical Group badging process, which is kind of an online test and an interview. And it's like a little certification almost to say that you can do stats or have the stats knowledge at a certain level, and we'll give you a little badge for it. Unfortunately, that didn't result in a pay rise, but hey ho. And I'm also trying to kind of include stats in a lot of the norm that I do with my analysis. More coding, I think there's always more coding to be done. Perhaps I'll loop back to Python at a certain point, maybe not. And then evaluation and critical appraisal, kind of building up that evidence base, which is a bit of a buzzword, but always important to do. But I think the biggest thing for me has been starting off small and building the confidence and stepping out of my comfort zone. But this isn't just a look at me and look at the things I've done. I've had a great manager and a great team, and in my organization, people have found these opportunities and kind of nudged me in the right direction. So I'm very thankful to everyone out there. And I will now pass over to James to talk about the K2A cycle.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Isabel. So we spoke about knowledge to action and knowledge mobilization, and this is essentially how we in LKIS structure our approach to looking at how we may create analytical products that may hopefully answer and, as Isabel showed, enhance decision making. And we want the analyst to be involved at all parts of this. So as you can see, the knowledge to action cycle runs from scoping through to planning, through to implementation, through to evaluation, and also it's a continuous loop. So it's an audit cycle within itself. And then as you can see at the outside, there's this continuous engagement. And we want the analyst to be there right at the very beginning. And we put the analyst there right at the very beginning, which is to be able to talk to the customer about what are their needs, what are their issues, what are their priorities, potentially be the opportunities and, importantly, when we're working with modern data today, the limitations around what can be done. So the expectations are really kind of being able to be addressed right at the beginning. And Isabel stated about creating the intelligent customer, really fueling that conversation between two separate, distinct groups of people, but actually hopefully getting on the same page really early, because then that goes into the planning stage. So what is possible? What are the multiple options that could be delivered? Actually looking at an array of routes, not simply just a dashboard or not simply just an Excel sheet, a worksheet, but actually thinking about actually how do we manage and answer some of these burning questions right at the beginning. And most importantly, this is where the fun part comes in as well, around that building, that testing, that developing, but doing that as collaborative, doing that in continuous engagement with the customer to make sure that you're building to their requirements, not necessarily or simply our assumptions. And then there's the implementation. And what we know is that we tend to build and deliver analytical products, but actually they get into the hands of multiple users. Multiple users therefore have multiple needs, multiple questions, multiple different approaches. And we find that the analyst is perfectly positioned to be able to support and enhance and advocate for the use of these products right again from the beginning, which actually creates a much more beneficial communication between the two. The analyst is able to understand how people are utilizing their products, and also the user is able to get immediate responses from an analytically minded individual. And then evaluation. So actually evaluation not being simply added right at the end saying, oh, we should probably, see whether people like this or not. Actually thinking about it in terms of throughout the whole of the scope plan implementation cycle, but actually using evaluation to understand use, using evaluation to actually seek to improve products. And again, continuously engaging with users. And actually, I've just got a little plug for my evaluation, for an evaluation framework session today at 2:30 with LKIS colleagues. So if you're interested in embedding evaluation, please do look out for that. Next slide, please, Isabel. And we thought some kind of conclusion and summary, because I don't really think that there's much to conclude around this. What we're essentially looking at here is the fact that analysts are exceptionally gifted and talented people. Absolutely. Some of the things they're able to do is phenomenal to me. But actually, this is across both an individual, a team, an organization, and a system culture of utilizing our analysts much, much, much more. And I think that boils down to the fact that the individual, they need to be kind of, driven to succeed and have a role in planning their own destiny. And a lot of that is around seeking your personal development and opportunities, very much stepping outside of your comfort zone, actually networking, communicating, a huge part I find around actually being better analysts and also getting our work out there. And hopefully something like HACA is a perfect testament to that. Then we've got the team, and actually developing a team which has a culture to grow and develop our skills. So look, actually the team are thinking about where can we embed an individual here? How can we develop this individual? Actually making sure that development is at the heart of team culture, not simply just allocation of jobs to each roles, but actually really looking at supporting and developing individuals. And both of those, the individual and the team, can really be stretching and challenging. In your team, you can actually have an approach which says, this will be hard, this will be difficult, this will need you to utilize new skills, and you may fail, and it may not come as well as you were hoping. But actually, that stretching and challenging can be really opportunistic to find those areas to actually enhance your skills. And as Isabel says, put you out of your comfort zone. Then you have this kind of organization approach, and the fact that the things that we can do at scale within an organization, so we can collaborate our skills and development, that the aspects of the culture are looking at how we cross across multiple parts of the organization. And we find that things like apprenticeship schemes, secondments, actually having a modern IT practices where an IT system is there to enhance our analytical ability rather than impinge it, and actually again looking at networks and communities and practice and having those intersections between different organizations. And then the things we can do as a system. And again, I think this is what we'll see at HACA a lot. Actually, what can we do for the analytical workforce? Things such as, for instance, the National Competency Framework, and growing that outside of pure analytics into this world of of knowledge mobilization and actually kind of enhancing our role there, looking at opportunities, looking at actually workforce development paths, making sure that our analysts don't simply just become managers of analytical teams, but actually have real roots. And as Isabel's already explored, things like the government statistical service, the government statistical badging, apprenticeships, and being involved in CPD. Next slide, please, Isabel. So finally, we just want to say that, yeah, some of this might be in at the deep end, but actually becoming a triple threat analyst or a quadruple threat analyst or however many ooples you want, actually, I think makes a much more rewarding, well-rounded individual who's happy to be kind of in the system, in the pool, actually enjoying their time at work. So that's it for us today. Just a thank you to Isabel for, essentially being just an amazing triple threat analyst. We've had about 6 months of Isabel so far, and it's been, well, actually 8 months, and it's been phenomenal. And also opportunities for you to ask any questions. So, Sam, if I pass over to you, if there's anything in the chat.
Thank you both. Yes, thanks both for a great, great presentation. There are a few questions in the chat. I'm not sure we'll have time to go through all of them, but I'll perhaps flag a couple. And if you've got any quick answers or quick kind of like reflections on them, maybe that'll be helpful. But also quiet ones. There's a few basically around kind of development opportunities and experience opportunities for analysts, and kind of where there are those opportunities. Someone asked about the stats course that you mentioned, but also any other kind of further kind of opportunities to develop. Now, if you either of you got any quick thoughts on that, that would be great. But also, I think this is probably a question that a lot of people are going to have, and it might be a good topic as well for those of you who are interested to flag in the network lounges and get other people's input into as well. But yeah, James, Isabel, head over to you to see if you've got any quick answers on that one.
I was going to say, in terms of opportunities, because there is a bit about that, we've got Sarah Blundell on there. So one of the greatest opportunities you can have is to join Analyst X and connect with analysts across the country, because there's lots of learning and development opportunities there. And I think, look, when we think about opportunities, we have to think about the idea that this kind of, do you know about the 10, 20 and 70% rule, whereby probably only about 10% of our learning will come through structured courses. 20% of our learning will be a bit like Isabel was talking about, sitting with people, developing your skills, having mentors, having people. And then 70% could be around those natural interactions of finding opportunities that will be embedded within your organizations, within your systems, and really hopefully having a team, a line manager and an organization that has that approach. And again, just to plug HACA, this is the type of place that you can find those opportunities as well. You have to connect, but connection networking can be a really good opportunity for that.
Thanks. And the other question, which I think, again, is something that comes up a lot in this arena, is around kind of technical language and someone saying that they've witnessed early conversations where the client, the customer knows what they want, but they don't necessarily speak the same language as the analyst, and that being a challenge to come over, which I've witnessed. I think some of what you've just said around developing those networking and having kind of lots of conversations with other people as an analyst, having conversations with other people and learning what their language is and bottoming it out, and this from my perspective, bottoming it out and kind of getting, past any shared misunderstandings is helpful. But yeah, James, Isabel, any other kind of reflections on that issue?
I think it's important that actually the continuous engagement, this does not come overnight. You have very technically skilled people, analytically skilled people, and you have people that really truly understand pathways, programs, interventions, etc. The more that they talk together, the better their conversations will be. I don't think this comes, instant. It isn't instant. You have to kind of learn people's working practices and approaches, but actually it definitely improves and becomes much more kind of comfortable if you're continuously engaging with them. If you're thinking, does this work for this person, rather than does this work based on my assumptions?
Yeah. Great. Thank you both. I think we'd better stop there because we've gone a bit over time, but we are now in a break time, so I haven't impinged on anyone else's talks. There is now a break until 11:20, and then in this stream, the next talk will be from Louise Killen about empowering women and strengthening the analytics profession. But thanks again, Isabel and James, for your talk. That was great. Thank you both very much.
Thanks very much, all.